Have you ever been writing a project or running a D&D game and one player sees right through your epic plot twist or guesses the ending? What would you do in that situation? Would you accept it or frantically deny it and try to change everything to prove them wrong, even at the cost of the entire party's lives? Imagine the worst mishandling of said scenario, but with the added problem of the DM being the worst person you've ever met. Don your hazmat suits. Roll post. Been watching CritCrab for a while.
That's me.
Never thought I'd post, but here I am. I thought I was being too harsh on my DM at first, but after months, going on almost a year of this, and with relentless pushing from my friends to leave the situation that they had to convince me wasn't normal, here I am. Strap in, gamers. To preface, I'm a 22-year-old female in university and fairly new to Dungeons & Dragons. My DM found me through Twitch, where I used to stream video games. Maybe that should have been a red flag, I don't know, but either way, I was a small streamer. He joined my Discord, we chatted for a bit, and then asked me to join his campaign. First of all, the players were fantastic, truly amazing people and role players. That's what sucked me in, and that's what's kept me here for so long. The DM, on the other hand, first instance of outrage was when our DM got angry at us for supposedly metagaming. The plot was particularly exciting at the time, and everyone was throwing out theories and predictions for what would happen next in the Discord group. One of the players happened to guess what the twist was, which was that the ancient red dragon we stumbled upon was actually a copper dragon in disguise trying to screw with us. The DM, angry that his twist wouldn't be a twist anymore, decided to go with what we would least expect, it being an actual red dragon encounter. We were level 6, it TPK'd us obviously. Here we see a common GM mistake and an even more common GM temptation. You have a story that makes sense, great, you have players that are paying attention, amazing, but sometimes when you mix the two, you get players who are paying so much attention to a story that makes so much sense that they can begin to predict what happens next. Some crab wisdom: if one of the many theories your players make turns out to be true, let them discover that for themselves. It rewards players for paying attention and is a testament to your masterful GMing. Take it in stride. I remember being discouraged when one of my players caught a plot twist, and I felt bad about it up until I saw their face light up at the big reveal. Them finding out that they were right all along was one of their most proud moments at the table, and something they still occasionally talk about to this day. So remember, the players don't know whether their theories are correct or not until you, the GM, say that. So use it. Roll post. I want to emphasize that we didn't seek out this dungeon. We ran into it on our way through an underground passage that was for a quest the DM sent us on. And before it happened, he said to us, "You guys aren't gonna be happy with what's gonna happen here, but just wait it out." And it killed us. So, with this having happened, my friend is in tears over her character that she has spent months putting effort into just dying to a red dragon for no reason other than spite. Having seen that we're obviously more upset than he thought we would be, he pulls the shitty cop-out narrative of, "It was all a dream." Yeah, great storytelling, bud. Oh no, not the dream twist, anything but the dream twist. There is no lazier attempt to retcon mistakes than burying it under a dream. It feels like an unearned escape in the same way a GM openly fudging dice rolls does. It feels cheap because it is cheap. Especially when you could either just retcon it normally or tell a story of triumph over death. Obviously there are certain rules to make it work, but if you have a TPK disaster on your hands and the players are really not okay with it because it's your own petty fault, giving them an afterlife arc where they cheat death and come back is not the worst option, especially put next to a cop-out dream or letting the campaign die because of the GM's slip-up, not the players. Roll post. He then, in the middle of the session, went on a rant about how we shouldn't metagame because it spoils everything. Mind you, I thought the copper dragon disguised as a red dragon to screw with us just for shits and giggles was a fun storyline. Even if one of us suspected the twist going in, that doesn't mean the roleplay would be ruined. Again, these players are amazing. They're very good at separating in-game knowledge from out-of-game knowledge. But DM was so mad about his story that he apparently spent months on making getting spoiled that he punished us for it in the worst way possible. Afterwards, we all just agreed to not talk about the plot of the game in the Discord anymore to avoid something like this from happening again. He was so adamant that we had metagamed and ruined his plans that we just gave in and stopped talking about it. Throughout the campaign, his NPCs have been unbearable to roleplay with. My character is a Celestial who has been bound to the material plane and had her powers severely crippled because she made a deal with the devil some years back to save her life. Being a Celestial, she's very pretty. This has led to every interaction with an NPC being so uncomfortable. Every single one makes comments about her looks, which at first, yeah, I mean that would make sense, she's not human after all, I rolled with it. But it got to the point of always being mistaken for a prostitute, and in the worst case, a literal slave, where the NPCs argued with the party to buy her. They refused to talk to her directly, which started to make me have a bad taste in my mouth. Not only that, but she always gets compared to the other girl in the party, a beefy paladin. And we're constantly pitted against each other when it comes to getting the attention of male NPCs. I started being closed off with NPCs, playing my character as reserved and grumpy. Little did I know that this would cause even more problems. Honestly, this just reeks of the GM being bitter and lashing out at the players, which pisses me off. Fast forward to our party seeking out the aid of the King of the Realm in exchange for helping him in return. My character's mentor was dying from a curse and needed permission from the king to go into a special library to research a cure. She was quiet, standoffish, and reserved in the roleplay, but she was polite. The DM suddenly burst out with the king saying, "Why are you being such a bitch? You already have another grumpy wizard in your group. Maybe try being a little bit more easy to be around." He also denied their request to save her mentor. An NPC that was both important to the kingdom and my character. It was so out of place. This king was played as someone likable up until that point. Like a lawful good character. Why is he calling my character a bitch randomly? Why does he care how she acts? Why? This got worse. Granted, my DM helped a lot with making my character, but this led to constant direct messages about what spells he thinks I need to take upon leveling up, going so far as to call some of my own choices bad. He then, unprompted, gave me advice on how to roleplay my character, saying that I needed to be more, quote, socially inclined. That my character should be more friendly and wouldn't be afraid to use her looks to her advantage. I told him to please not give me feedback unless I ask for it in the future. Wanna know how he dealt with that request? At the start of our next session, he dragged me into the private roleplay voice channel in Discord without telling me he was going to do so. He then told me that not being open to feedback was, quote, not gonna fly in his campaign. I said I am open to feedback, but only when I ask for it. I want to build my character and choose her spells how I want to and without criticism. Nor do I want role-playing advice, because I really do put a lot of thought into her. And he just kept pressing that I need to hear out his opinions whenever he sends me a message because he's only trying to help. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. He's not trying to help. He was being domineering. I asked him to stop and he straight up was just like, no. Okay, I'm genuinely at a loss here. OP says that the first incident of outrage was the metagame dragon. That was at level 6. Let's just assume that they started at close to level 1 given that they had enough plot and experience to accurately theorize about the dragon, yeah? Given that all problems started after several levels and sessions into the game, and almost immediately after the player's dragon incident, I can only assume that something in the dragon incident caused the GM to deliberately cause problems for the players in retaliation for the perceived problems they caused him. It's petty, but he has already proved himself to be the king of pettiness, and I doubt he's going to become self-aware now of all times. Unfortunately, you are about to witness just how bad it gets and why it gets so bad that I think this was deliberate. Roll post. It was clear that his views about women creeped into the campaign a lot. I don't call him an incel lightly. To be quite honest, I used to laugh at incel memes because they seemed like some faraway concept that couldn't truly exist. But after hearing the legit opinions from this DM in his late 30s who also chooses to not date women in their 30s because, quote, they all have baggage, i.e. kids, are overweight, crazy, etc., because he thinks if they're single at 30, it's because they fooled around too much in their 20s. And now their looks are catching up to them and they're just scrambling to settle down. Again, I don't call him an incel lightly. It wasn't funny anymore. These are very, very scary and hateful people. Ladies, you are more than just what you look like. There was a separate issue too of him sending me shirtless pictures of himself when he was talking to me about fitness. I had told him I was a competitive dancer when he asked about my hobbies, and he went on to brag about his fitness journey and send me pics despite knowing I have a boyfriend. What this person in question represents is the worst side of the men's rights movement. Of course, it would be incredibly short-sighted to say that men don't face serious problems in current society. They do, but just as you can't build women up by tearing men down, you can't build men up by tearing women down. It's not a zero-sum game, and both sides can absolutely win and achieve more true equality. It just takes bridge building. Back to the DM. It takes an astounding lack of self-awareness to rip on women whenever he can, yet show clear interest in a woman who is spoken for. It shows that he either doesn't buy his own beliefs or is actually an incel in denial. He gets mad at women using their bodies to get what they want, but in the game gets mad at OP for not using her body to get what she wants. Anybody can see a serious inconsistency here. That, or even worse, he's the type to believe that women are genuinely only valuable for their bodies. That could be a bit of a stretch. Or could it? The GM will surprise you with how low he goes in a second here. You cannot make this stuff up. Roll post. All of this is made worse by seeing how he roleplayed my character's patron. It was full-on, you belong to me and no one else obsessive behavior. I mean, at first it seemed like a great villain. My character's whole deal is redemption, so I thought this was great for her seeking to get away from such a domineering villain and making her own path. But knowing all that I do about him, it just got creepy. It got weird. Am I looking too much into it? I don't know. Like, man, I just want to have a good time playing a game here. Instead, I feel like I'm fighting for my right to play my character how I want to, which is a reserved, stoic, and sometimes impatient warlock. Instead, I'm getting constant direct messages from my DM on how to play and act, and also to look at his abs. Ugh. He also reached out to the other girl in our campaign when she announced happily that she was getting married. She's young, like 20, 21 or something, and he reached out to her in private message and told her that he thinks it's too early for her to get married, and especially since her fiancé is leaving to go join the military. All it takes is one guy with money to come along and make her second guess her decision. Yes, you read that right. He said that she shouldn't get married because she'll just end up cheating, all to which was unasked for advice. If you can even call it that. I think the biggest takeaway, especially for girls coming to the table, is that, hey, there are good DMs out there. If you feel like you're being abused, slighted, or even misunderstood in any way by your DM, you don't have to compensate for them if you can't come to an understanding. I stayed for so long because I really loved the party members I played with, but it's becoming too much. I feel like it's not worth my sanity when there are so many other respectful and creative DMs out there who won't TPK me and sexualize my character out of spite or whatever he had going on. I don't know. I'm super conflicted about leaving for good because I love the party so much and they're staying despite the mishaps because these main issues are really only happening to me and the other young girl in our campaign. I'm planning on making it clear as to what's going on to everyone and why I'm leaving, and hopefully it turns out okay. I couldn't have said it better myself. There are plenty of amazing GMs out there, and it's tragically limiting to restrain yourself to a GM that can't or won't suit your needs. Or even worse, actively tears you down. This story had it all, but just before you go, I want to re-emphasize what I said earlier, as it's the most valuable thing you're gonna get from this video. If your players are guessing plot points or intelligently thwarting the big bad's plans, don't take it personally. It's a great sign that your players care a lot about the game and that you're running a story they can understand, which is a huge flex. If you like this story, I have plenty more right here to my left. These are some of my favorites. Till next time.